Hey everyone, so I am super tired, but I want to read this before I go to sleep. This is for school. I am a student at Maharishi International University for my bachelor's in consciousness and human potential, and I am about to read from the book The Science of Being and the Art of Living by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and the first section here is called How to Contact Being. So the science of being not only postulates a theory of one absolute element at the basis of the entire creation, but also provides a systemic way whereby any man may have direct experience of the essential nature of transcendental absolute being. First, we shall look into the possibility of the direct experience of the absolute from a theoretical point of view, and then consider the practical results of such an experience in day-to-day life. We have seen that being lies beyond the subtlest stratum of creation in the transcendental field of absolute existence. Talking about the field of consciousness, the quantum field. That's what it's referring to. So in order to experience this transcendental field of absolute existence, or in order to experience this transcendental reality, it is necessary that our attention be led in a concrete manner through all the subtle strata of creation. Then, arriving at the subtlest level, it must transcend that experience to know transcendental being. What do we have in the gross level of creation? We have gross things to see through the eyes, and he doesn't mean gross like yuck. He means gross just like physical level. We have gross things to see through the eyes, gross words, I guess also like anything physical, words or sounds to hear through the ears, gross smells to smell through the nose, varieties of sensations to feel through the sense of touch, and varieties of taste to taste with the tongue. So we think, and the process of thinking normally seems to have no connection with these senses of perception, but the process of thinking does include one or many of these senses of perception. Our experience in the field of perception shows that we experience gross things and we experience subtle things. We use our eyes to see, ears to hear, and so on. But we know there is a limit to which the eyes can see, the ears can hear, and the tongue can taste. This limit marks the experience of gross creation. Over because now you can't see me. Eyes can see forms. Wait, not that you guys couldn't see me. I couldn't see the other side of the book. I'm scrolling down. Eyes can see forms as long as they do not become refined beyond a certain point. The ears can hear sound within a certain range of frequency. The nose can smell different smells as long as the smells are gross enough. This is the case with all the senses of experience. They are only able to experience the gross objects. So our five senses. But then we have our sixth sense, our sense of intuition, which is our eye into the spiritual realms. It senses energy. So there's that. We know that there are forms much finer than the eyes can see, and that these may be experienced through the microscope. We know that there are waves which the ears cannot sense, but we hear with the help of radio. Wi-Fi signal and radio frequencies running through the air right now. We can't see them, but they're there. Information's all around us. So we know this shows that there are subtle strata of creation in existence with which we are not familiar because our common capacity of experience is limited to the experience of the gross only. Therefore, in order to experience transcendental being, it's necessary to improve the faculty of experience. If we could improve our faculty of experience through any of the senses, or improve our ability to experience the thought before it comes to the conscious level of the mind, and if this ability to perceive the thought could be so improved that it reached the source of thought, then having transcended the source, it would be possible to reach the transcendental state of being. This establishes a way to experience transcendental being, to experience finer and finer states of creation through any sense of experience, to experience the finest strata of creation and to transcend that to get to the state of being. Since being is of transcendental nature, it does not belong to the range of any of the senses of perception. Only when sensory perception has come to an end can the transcendental field of being be reached. So like when our five senses, you become no person, no place, no thing, like Joe Dispenza would say. You're no longer associated with I am Andrea and I am here in this place in time and space. You move beyond time and space into the field. Okay. As long as we're experiencing the eyes, we're able to feel, therefore. Being certainly cannot be expressed by means of any of the senses. This shows that through whatever sense of experience we proceed, we must come to the ultimate limit of experience through that sense. Transcending that, we will reach a state of consciousness where the experiencer no longer experiences. The word experiencer implies a relative state. It is a relative word. For the experiencer to be, there has to be an object of experience. The experiencer of the object of experience are both, The experiencer and the object of experience are both relative. So, when we have, move back over here again. When we have, where was I? Transcended the field of the experience of the subtlest object. I can't say that freaking word. Subtlest, like the most subtle area of existence. See, because it's talking about transcending and transcendental meditation, you get beyond the analytical thinking mind, the waves of the ocean, and you go down naturally into a center, into a place, the stillness of the ocean, which is the field of unbounded consciousness. All that is. Okay, so transcended the field. The experiencer is left by himself without the experience. Without an object of experience. I'm tired. Having transcended the subtlest state of the object, the experiencer steps out of the process of experiencing and arrives at a state of being. Just being, I am. That's it. The mind is then found in the state of being, which is out of the relative. The state of being is neither a state of objective nor subjective existence, because both of these states belong to the relative field of life. When the subtlest state of objective experience has been transcended, the subtlest state of consciousness is then said to be pure consciousness, the state of absolute being. This is how, by bringing the attention to the field of the transcended, it is possible to contact and experience being. It cannot be experienced on the level of thinking because, as far as thinking goes, it is still a field of relative existence. The transcendental state of being lies beyond all seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and tasting, beyond all thinking and beyond all feeling, beyond all the human senses, the material things. The transcendental state of being lies beyond all seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and tasting, beyond all thinking and beyond all feeling. This state of unmanifested, absolute, pure consciousness of being is the ultimate of life. It is easily experienced through the system of transcendental meditation, which is what I was just telling you guys about a little bit, right? So, TM is amazing, you guys. Transcendental meditation. Oh, so we're actually going to talk about it here. The process of bringing the attention to the level of transcendental being is known as the system of transcendental meditation. So, in the practice of transcendental meditation, a proper thought is selected, and the technique of experiencing that thought in its infant states of development enables the conscious mind to arrive systematically at the source of thought, the field of being. So you focus on a mantra. It's just a word. It's meaningless. It has no meaning. It's just so your mind is focused on that and allows you to naturally get beyond that analytical thinking mind, the waves of the top of the ocean, the gotta minds. Okay, so thus the way to experience transcendental being lies in selecting a proper thought and experiencing its subtle states until its subtlest state is experienced and transcended. We shall now deal with the main principle of the system of transcendental meditation. The main principle of transcendental meditation. All right, so the main principle of transcendental meditation, we have seen that being is the state of eternal and absolute existence, and that the way to experience being is to experience from the gross to the subtle states of creation until the mind arrives at the transcendent. We have seen that we could proceed through any sense of experience. For example, through the sense of sight, we can experience gradually subtler and subtler forms, and eventually our eyes would reach a point where they were unable to perceive a form beyond a certain degree of subtlety. If we could close our eyes and train the inner eye, the eye of the mind, the pineal pituitary gland. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, never mind. No, wait, where was I? To perceive the object at the point at which we fail to perceive it through our open eyes, we would have a mental image of the object. If there were a way to experience the finer and finer fields of that mental image, experience its finest state and transcend it, we would then reach the state of being. Likewise, through any sense of experience, we could start experiencing the object and eventually arrive at the transcendental state of being. Through the experience of a thought, we could experience the subtle states of thinking, and transcending the subtlest state of thinking, we would be sure to arrive at the transcendental state of being. Thinking in itself is the subtle state of speech. So a thought is, before it becomes words, is a subtle state of speech. So when we speak, our words are audible to the ears. If we do not speak, the words do not become perceptible to the organ of hearing. Thus we find that thought is a subtle form of sound. Experience shows that the process of thinking starts from the deepest, most refined level of consciousness and becomes grosser as it develops. Eventually, it becomes gross enough to be perceived on the surface level of the ocean of consciousness. On the common level of thinking, an analogy will clarify the principle. A thought starts from the deepest level of consciousness, from the deepest level of the ocean of the mind, as a bubble starts at the bottom of the sea. As the bubble rises, it gradually becomes bigger. When it comes to the surface of water, it is perceived as a bubble. Mind is like the ocean, and as in the ocean, the surface layers are active in waves, and the deeper levels are silent. The surface layers of the mind are actively functioning while the deeper levels are silent. The surface functioning level of the ocean of the mind is said to be the conscious mind. As or any thought on the surface level is conscious mind. Any thought on the surface level is consciously cognized. The level of the ocean of the mind at which the thoughts are appreciated as thoughts is the conscious level of the mind. A thought starts from the deepest level of consciousness, travels through the whole depth of the ocean mind, and finally appears as a conscious thought on the surface. Thus we find that every thought stirs the whole range of the depth of consciousness, but that it is consciously appreciated only when it has come to the conscious level. The rest of its many stages of development are not appreciated. That is why, for all practical purposes, we say that the deeper levels of the ocean of consciousness are as though silent. If there were a way to consciously appreciate all the states of the bubbles of thought prior to its reaching the surface level, that would be the way to transcend thought and experience transcendental being. If there were a way to consciously appreciate all the states of the bubble of thought prior to its reaching the surface level, that would be the way to transcend thought and experience transcendental being. So the main principle of transcendental meditation is, there's still more down here to read actually, but I thought that was the end. The bubble of thought rising from the level Z becomes bigger. By the time it reaches surface level A, it has developed enough to appreciate as a thought. This is the level of conscious mind. Show you guys that real quick. And then a little bit more here. The subtle states of the bubble of thought below the level of the conscious state are not consciously appreciated. If there were a way to appreciate consciously the bubble of thought at all levels of its development, and at the source Z in the bottom, and if it were possible to transcend this experience, then the mind would gain the state of transcendental consciousness. It's about getting beyond all those levels of mind, getting beyond the analytical thinking mind, and the feeling, and all the things, and getting to that deep, subtle place within of inner peace and transcendence. So if the bubble of thought could be consciously appreciated at the level below A and at all levels of subtlety from A to Z, it would be possible to bring the level Z within the range of the conscious mind. In this way, the depth of conscious mind will become greater, as was represented in the graph in W1 and W2 that I just showed if you want to go back. And the power of the conscious mind would be increased manyfold. This expansion of the conscious capacity of the mind will again be on a mental level along the way to experiencing being. So the technique, bubbles of thought are produced in a stream one after the other, and the mind is trained to experience the oncoming bubble at an earlier and earlier stage of development. When the attention has reached level Z, it has traversed the whole depth of the mind and has reached the source of creative intelligence in man. You get beyond, as I keep saying it, you get beyond the mind, okay? You think you're your mind, you're in your thoughts, but you're not. Basically, like the thinker of the thoughts. You're not the thoughts, though. Like, you're the energy, the intelligence behind the thoughts, the source of the thoughts. When it transcends the subtle state of thought, the conscious mind transcends the subtle state of relative experience and arrives at the state of transcendental being, the state of pure consciousness or self-awareness. I am that I am. I just am. You're not associated with the things of the mind and the outer world. You just are absolute being. This is how, in a systemic manner, the conscious mind is led on, step by step, to a direct experience of transcendental absolute being. Increasing charm on the path of transcending. To go to the field of greater happiness is the natural tendency of the mind. We naturally want to seek this place of peace. And because in this practice of transcendental meditation, the conscious mind is set on its way to transcending and experiencing transcendental absolute being, whose nature is bliss consciousness, the mind finds the way is increasingly attractive as it advances in the direction of bliss. A light becomes faint and dim as we go away from its source, and the intensity increases as we proceed toward the source. Similarly, when the mind goes in the direction of the absolute bliss of transcendental being, it finds increasing charm at every state of its march. The mind is charmed and is led to experience transcendental meditation. Thus, we find the practice of transcendental meditation is a pleasant practice for every mind. Whatever the state of evolution of the aspirant, whether or not he is emotionally developed or intellectually advanced, his mind, by its very tendency to go to the field of greater consciousness or of greater happiness, finds its way to transcend the subtlest state of thinking and arrive at the bliss of absolute being. That is why the practice of transcendental meditation is not only simple, but also automatic. You gotta go and get trained in it, you guys. I encourage you to look up a local trainer and schedule to go ahead and get trained. Increased consciousness capacity of the mind, and this is the last paragraph. We will analyze in detail what has happened to the conscious mind during transcendental meditation when it fathoms the subtle states of thought. This, of course, is not part of our consideration of how to experience being, but it is interesting to know what happens to the mind on its way to directly experiencing the transcendental. In the diagram, the area of the conscious mind, represented by W1, has become the much larger area represented by W2. It is as if the waves on the surface of the ocean have communicated themselves with the deeper levels of water, with the result that each wave is mightier than the wave before. On the path to experiencing being, the conscious capacity of the mind is enlarged and the whole ocean of mind becomes capable of being conscious. The full mental potential is thus unfolded, and the conscious capacity of the mind is increased to the maximum limit. How it is technically achieved is a matter of personal instruction from those who have been trained to impart this technique of experiencing being. So that's it, y'all. I think that's the end. That is the end. Alright, so you got some good information there. That's amazing. I got my reading done. So glad to share this. If you liked it, share it out. Leave a comment. Let me know where you're at on your spiritual awakening journey. How you connecting with the infinite source, God, spirit, whatever you choose to call it. How do you connect in with that, the most deepest, subtle levels of yourself? I love you guys. Truth in the night. Have a namaste. Bye.